The instant you grasp that the two individuals you relied on the most have been plotting against you is strangely quiet. There's no dramatic music, no abrupt downpour, just the soft clicking of my watch as I gazed at the message from my private detective. The included images showing my spouse of 18 years in a close hug with my associate in a shadowy parking area. I had constructed a vast enterprise from nothing, but I never expected disloyalty from those closest. 15 years back, my firm, now a worldwide powerhouse, was simply me, a faulty laptop, and a sketching board in my workshop. I recall the aroma of engine lubricant and old Java that initial cold season, laboring until my hands turned numb since I couldn't pay for adequate warmth. My wife Sarah would sometimes deliver me broth, wrapped in a cover, her exhalation apparent in the chilly atmosphere. "You're destined to transform the globe someday, Alex," she'd declare, her gaze gleaming with respect. "I have faith in you more than anybody else might." In those days, I trusted her. I trusted in our bond. The business expanded gradually initially, then rapidly following our third year. We created an innovative protection coding mechanism that even large technology companies couldn't duplicate. Official agreements came next, followed by overseas growth. By year 7, I appeared in renowned corporate publications. By year 10, we operated branches in 12 nations. What the features omitted was the toll. The overlooked celebrations, delayed trips, and evenings I'd slip into bed at 3 a.m. just to rise at 6. Sarah's grin became more strained with every passing year. Her gaze, once brimming with affection, now contained a mix of bitterness and acceptance. "We'll ease up shortly," I vowed to her on our 15th marriage milestone, once the Singapore agreement is sealed. But there was perpetually another agreement, another achievement, another excuse to set all else aside. Introduce Daniel Carter. I encountered Daniel at a sector gathering 7 years prior. He was engaging, sharp with figures, and possessed the interpersonal abilities I missed. Where I was methodical and exact, he was instinctive and appealing. We balanced each other ideally. "You require somebody like me," he informed me over beverages after finalizing our initial significant collaborative project. "You invent the items, I'll promote the dream." I integrated him into the firm as primary tactics director. The directors cherished him, financiers admired him, and gradually it appeared Sarah did as well. Initially, I valued how Daniel allocated time for Sarah when I was unable. He'd join her at philanthropic gatherings when I was trapped in urgent sessions. He recalled her birth date when I was abroad completing a transaction. He dispatched blossoms when I overlooked our marriage date for the 3rd consecutive year. "Daniel's so considerate," Sarah would remark, positioning the blooms in a container. "He notices the finer points." The implied contrast lingered in the space. "Unlike you, I was oblivious to it all, too absorbed by labor, too assured in my union, too dependent on a man who had grown like a sibling." Until 6 weeks earlier, when an unidentified message came with an enclosed file, a preliminary suggestion to reorganize the firm's management. The suggestion would reduce my dominant ownership and shift managerial authority to a fresh group, with Daniel leading. The file was initial, obviously not intended for my view. But there it was, with modifications recorded from both Daniel's company address and a private one I identified as Sarah's. They weren't merely conducting a romance, they were scheming to seize all from me. Something within me, inactive for years, stirred. A chilly, strategic sharpness I hadn't experienced since those beginning times in my workshop. I shut the message, erased it, and reached a resolution. I wouldn't challenge them. Not immediately. Instead, I phoned my sibling, Rachel. She had been my unspoken collaborator from the start. While I was the public figure of the firm, Rachel handled our kin's assets after our folks departed. She had placed our humble legacy into my venture and kept a minor but vital portion in the enterprise. More crucially, she was the sole individual I depended on entirely. "Are you certain about this?" Rachel inquired, her tone firm despite the revelation I'd just shared. We were seated in her urban flat, distant from curious listeners. I pushed my device across the surface. "Observe for yourself." She perused the messages and outlines, her demeanor unaltered except for a minor constriction near her eyes. At last, she placed the device down. "What's your strategy, Alex?" I glanced out at the urban horizon, our firm's emblem shining afar. "I desire them to believe they've triumphed, then I'll reclaim it all. Acting the idiot is tiring when you've devoted your existence to being the cleverest present. But that's precisely what I did for weeks. I departed the workplace prematurely, mentioning fatigue. I suggested withdrawal to committee members. I permitted Daniel to guide discussions, agreeing as if I were already retreating. At residence, I displayed increased drinking, leaving monetary files exposed on my workstation. I even began counseling, making sure Sarah was aware. "I believe I'm experiencing a collapse," I admitted to Sarah one night as we sat like outsiders at the supper board. She extended across and grasped my hand, her marriage band sparkling. "Perhaps it's time to retreat, Alex. You've toiled so diligently, the firm will endure without you." Her worry appeared authentic. Had I not witnessed the proof, I might have accepted it. "Maybe you're correct," I answered, pretending thankful hopelessness. In the meantime, I engaged the finest examiner funds could secure. James Wu, former FBI, was unobtrusive and comprehensive. Within days, he had recorded Sarah and Daniel's 2-year liaison. Images of their encounters, tapes of their dialogues. One tape wounded profoundly. "How much longer must we endure?" Sarah's tone, restless. "The files will be prepared next month." "Then we simply require his endorsement," Daniel responded assuredly. "He's deteriorating exactly as planned." "Excellent. I've dedicated 18 years to that individual. I merit more than half in the separation." "You'll obtain it all, darling. The residence, the estates, a substantial agreement, and once I'm leader, we won't need to conceal anymore." I heard in James's workspace, my expression impartial. "Is there additional?" "Always additional," James stated. "But what will you do with what you already possess?" What I did was reach my lawyer, David Park, who had been with me since the outset. I presented everything, the romance, the organizational seizure effort, my opposing scheme. David attended meticulously, then affirmed, "What you're suggesting is lawful, but the schedule must be impeccable. One error and they could allege pressure." "Then will be impeccable," I declared. The core of my scheme resided in the firm's initial establishment files. A clause permitted confidential stock shifts between original participants without committee sanction, a condition designed to safeguard kin concerns. Over the subsequent month, I silently shifted my dominant ownership to Rachel, retaining just sufficient stocks to uphold pretenses. While I portrayed the faltering manager, Rachel readied to intervene. She examined our initiatives, convened with essential customers, and collaborated with David to guarantee every legal aspect was secure. The concluding element aligned when we uncovered Daniel's own wrongdoing. He had been exaggerating achievement indicators to strengthen his role. James revealed this via Daniel's confidential exchanges with bookkeeping. The snare was prepared. Now we anticipated. They executed their action on a Friday. The committee session was arranged to review seasonal outcomes, but Daniel had confidentially informed participants about a management shift. I reached early, attired flawlessly but with a purposefully unkempt appearance, slackened neckwear, darkness beneath my eyes. Rachel would appear at the ideal instant. The conference space populated. Daniel arrived final, exuding assurance. "Significant day, Alex. Prepared for what's ahead. Always planning forward, Daniel," I responded feebly. The session commenced ordinarily. I contributed slightly, allowing Daniel to direct. Then on signal, he adjusted his voice. "Prior to ending, there's a vital issue." His aide circulated binders, a suggestion to rearrange management. "Alex and I have conversed this confidentially. Considering his latest difficulties, this change will benefit the firm's prospects while providing our creator the respite he requires." All attention shifted to me. I allowed my look to fall, simulating surrender. "If the committee thinks this is optimal, I won't obstruct." Daniel's astonishment was brief. "The files need your approval." His aide positioned a bulky binder before me. I examined each sheet gradually, permitting strain to accumulate. Then I raised my head before I endorse one inquiry. "When did you initially choose to be intimate with my spouse?" The space solidified. Daniel faltered, "I don't comprehend what you're referring to." I propelled pictures across the surface. Daniel and Sarah accessing a lodge, hugging in his vehicle, eating hours from residence, all dated. "This isn't individual, Daniel. It's commerce." The conference space entrance opened. Rachel stepped in, trailed by David. "Permit me to present Rachel, my sibling and the firm's primary owner." Daniel blanched. David circulated files verifying Rachel's dominant ownership. 56% of deciding stocks shifted legally under the initial clauses. "This is scandalous," Daniel objected. "The committee didn't sanction these shifts." "They didn't have to," David answered. "The clause was set at establishment." Rachel assumed the leading position. "As primary owner, I suggest prompt alterations, beginning with Daniel Carter's dismissal for severe impropriety, violation of responsibility, and clash of concern." The committee approved unanimously. Protection guided Daniel out. You ambushed me, he snarled. No, I stated. I allowed you to disclose your true nature. One conflict succeeded, one additional to address. Sarah was awaiting at residence, striding. What occurred at the session, she questioned, attempting to appear relaxed. The formal account, Daniel was dismissed for moral breaches. The reality, your paramour unsuccessful in appropriating my firm. Her poise shattered. Alex, I don't know what Daniel told you. Stop. I have the messages, the images, the tapes of you scheming with him, she wept, then attacked verbally. You were never present. Year upon year, you selected labor over me. You were meant to communicate with me, I stated softly, not plot secretly. I merit half of all, you'll receive much less. The stocks are with Rachel. The estates transferred to a fund, the artwork contributed. The tribunals don't support partners who collude in deception. I presented her separation documents. You have 30 days to depart. She warned to contest, to tarnish my reputation. Attempted, I stated, departing. The consequences were chaotic. Daniel litigated for improper dismissal, but retracted when we revealed his wrongdoing. Sarah contested the separation, but ultimately agreed to a humble resolution. She relocated solitary. Daniel's standing never restored. Rachel stayed primary owner, but restored me as leader. We reconstructed the management group, emphasizing reliability. Months afterward, Rachel and I positioned in my workspace, celebrating our victory. Was it valuable? She questioned. They believed they were seizing all from me, I stated, but they merely seized substitutable items. Honesty? That's enduring. A year afterward, I was designated Businessperson of the Year. At the event, I encountered Dr. Elise Chen, an investigator who respected my management of the turmoil. For the initial occasion in years, I sensed a glimmer, not of retribution, but of potential. As I received the honor, I pondered, the largest obstacle isn't constructing something, it's defending it while remaining faithful to your values. Some label it vengeance. I label it equity, chilly, strategic, and thorough. Achievement is the finest retribution, but endurance renders it ideal. If you appreciated this narrative and sensed the feelings within it, remember to give it a thumbs up, distribute it with others, and join the channel for additional true-life tales and sincere accounts. Your encouragement is invaluable, and it assists us deliver more material like this to you. Thank you for viewing, and I'll meet you in the following clip.